What is the biggest mistake most beginners make when it comes to painting with watercolor? Personally, I would say it's not using enough water or using too much. Watercolor is very much a balancing act with your paint, as well as, you probably guessed it, how much water you use to dilute it. When painting, we are constantly trying to measure the amount of water to paint we are using. This concept is also known as paint ratios. But how much water do you actually need to use when working with watercolor? The best way to explain this is to show you what too much water looks like and then what too little water looks like. Too little water is often seen when your watercolor paint has not been saturated enough with water. You can see this very easily when pushing your brush over the paper and seeing more of a speckled pattern, also known as dry brushing. This, of course, is an extreme case of too little water, but keep in mind watercolor should flow over the paper with ease. Thus, if you find yourself pushing your paint over the paper with just a bit of resistance, you still don't have enough water in your brush. Too much water, on the other hand, can be seen when you have basically this dome shape of water laying on top of your paper. If you start to see these dome-like shapes rising above your paper, the paint will slowly push outward as it dries and basically create an outer edge or an outer ring of pigment around your shape. I find this to be more common among beginners. We're using basically too much water than too little. And this is how you can get blooms or blossoms in your washes, especially if you want those washes nice and smooth and even. If you're using too much water, you'll find as your paint or your wash dries, you'll see these lighter areas of blossoms or blooms. And that's basically because you use too much water in your wash. So what is the correct amount of water that you should be using? Well, whether you are painting wet on wet or wet on dry, you should be seeing a nice sheen of water or color along the surface of your paper. This sheen should be thick enough to coat the paper evenly, but low enough that it doesn't create a dome-like shape on top of your paper. As you're working with this water to paint ratio, you should also notice that your paint will glide along the paper very smoothly and effortlessly, leaving less brush strokes on your paper. This is honestly one of the best tips for getting super smooth and even washes of color. Once you really start to get a handle on the correct water to paint ratio you should be using on your paper, your colors will appear smoother and also more crisp after drying. With practice, you'll even start to get better at noticing when you've used too much water and be able to lift that water with a brush and correct mistakes as they happen.